Welcome back to Hi Guys, it's your boy BDR and I'm back with another AQ Worlds overview video. Now today we're going to be doing an overview on buffed Chaos Slayer. So yeah, Chaos Slayer was also one of the many classes to get buffs, last week. So here we are. Now how to get the class is that, you have to / join Mount Doomskull, Chaos Slayer class, and here they are. Each Chaos Slayer class has the same skills, so pick the Chaos Slayer class that you want based on you think it has like the best looking design. Rank 10 Chaos shouldn't really be too bad, because I would just say like a quick tip, you could just do Embrace Your Chaos, and then with Ref Boost just spam Embrace Your Chaos until you get to rank 10. So that's kind of like a quick way to get to rank 10 Chaos. Alright, enough about that. Now let's talk about the skills. Now the skills did get some changes, so let's just talk about them. So we have Chaos Blade. Chaos Blade, if you're not corrupted, you apply Chaos Affliction, increasing your outgoing damage by 1% for 12 seconds, stacks to 30. If you are corrupted, applies Chaos Blight, increasing your outgoing damage by 6% for 12 seconds, stacked to 15. So yeah, the Chaos Affliction is now 12 seconds instead of 5. The Chaos Blight is also 12 seconds as well. So we have that as well. And lastly, corruption, let's see, applies corrupted, increasing your crit chance and hit chance by 10% while removing all of your skill's area of effect for 15 seconds. Then we have Enigma. Now Courageous now reduces the caster's outgoing damage by 40%. So now the chance to apply is now once per cast, not once per each target hit. So they reduce it from 50 to 40. Surge, the cooldown is now 15 seconds instead of 17. Here are your rank 4 passives in case you need like a little refresher. And Pandemonium now reduces the Pandemonium Paragon now reduces the caster's damage resistance by negative 500%. And finally, the new rank 10 passive Absolute Chaos. Magical resistance increased by 35%. While fighting chaos monsters, Enigma applies Absolute Chaos, increasing all stats by 13%, preventing Courageous from applying and causing your other random effects to always apply. There you go. So based on, these skills, now we have a faster way to get to those 30 stacks. Enigma did reduce the Courageous damage, and, Paragon changed as well. And now we have a new rank 10 passive that does extra damage towards chaos monsters. Alright then, let's move on to combos and enhancements. Alright people, here's the build for Chaos Slayer. So Ravenous, now thanks to the Ravenous rework, it now triggers on 3rd skill, so now you could just, definitely spam Enigma as much as possible to make sure you get your Ravenous and apply Consume to the opponent. Lucky, obviously, crit, Lammet, crit purposes, and 10% hit chance. It's like, yeah, there we go. Alright then, for your soloing combo, what you want to do here is 4, 3, 2, and 5. And then just spam 3, 2, 5 and use 4 when you need to heal. Now, the thing about Chaos Slayer now is that it can now achieve, Chaos Blight stacks at a faster rate. When it truly reaches like towards 30 stacks, which is the max, you're really going to see its damage rise. Here we're just now we're creeping up. Now we're reaching 10k auto attacks. The nukes are now 20k. 15, yep. Even look at the auto attacks. Here it's just, now the class is looking crazy. Axia, I mean, everything is still RNG. That's kind of like one of the points of the class, to be completely chaotic, RNG. Now we're at 26 stacks, 27, 28, 29, and there you go. The 30 stacks of Chaos Blight. There you go, minute 6, 674. Pretty nice. Alright then, in terms of soloing, well, this is a class that, like, at first its damage doesn't really seem all that, but as time progresses, as more and more Chaos Blight stacks you get, its damage will ramp up. Overall, it's still a solid soloing option, especially for mid-game. Alright then, let's move on to farming. Alright people, so this is the build that we're going to be using for farming. Let's go. So, in terms of farming, what you want to do here is 4, 3, and then 5, and just spam those skills. You can't use 1 because it's going to lock you into one target for 15 seconds, and we don't want that while farming. It's just that in harder content, yeah, like Chaos Slayer will get some kills, but against stuff like Revenant or even Stream War, against like multiple mobs, it's definitely going to show it's not so good defense. It's going to get swarmed on, whatnot, and yeah, there you go. And another thing too is like, you know, if Courageous activates, it's kind of over. So yeah, that's, you know, that's pretty much it in terms of farming. I would recommend using something else if you're like a late game to end game player. Alright, then let's move on to survivability. Alright, people, so in terms of survivability, you know, it has the debuffs. It has, you know, Ravenous really, you know, helps out as well. But by itself, it's just, yeah, against harder hitting monsters, even with the Surge barrier and whatnot, it's just going to crumble to harder hitting bosses. So yeah, in terms of survivability, it could definitely hold its own, but in front of harder hitting monsters, it's just going to get swatted in 1 to 2 hits. Alright then, let's check out the new rank 10 passive. Damn, that rain is going hard right now. So yeah, you know, with Chaos Slayer having a new passive, dealing, you know, extra damage towards Chaos monsters, you know, all stats, you know, are increased by 13%, preventing Courageous from applying and causing your other random effects to always apply. So we're just going to pull this up right here, the Battle Analyzer. And yeah, let's check it out against a hard-hitting Chaos monster. No Courageous whatsoever. Heals are going good. We got the barrier active. Oh, they activated his safeguard. There we go. Wow, 21 seconds. So yeah, definitely fast. You know, against Chaos monsters, it's definitely, its stats increase, you know, dealing more damage. Pretty nice against Chaos monsters. Alright then, let's talk about support and then final thoughts. Alright, so in terms of support, you know, Chaos Slayer can apply debuffs to the enemy using Enigma, you know, here it is right there. And also it can apply additional debuffs with Pandemonium outside of Courageous. So, yeah. In terms of support, it could apply many debuffs to the opponent, even if it's at random. Alright then, the pros about Chaos Slayer is that, well, one, Chaos Blight stacks can be, you know, achieved at a much faster rate than before. And now, due to its rank 10 passive, it has now become a DPS option for the champion Draka fight. Alongside, it's still a pretty good mid-game soloer, at the least, mid-game DPS soloer, and it now has a rank 10 passive that deals bonus damage against chaos monsters. That's pretty much all that I have to say about pros. Alright, the cons about buffed Chaos Slayer is that, you know, it's still squishy, especially against hard-hitting bosses. Like, its new rank 10 passive only is for Chaos monsters, similar to how Lich's auto attack, the DOT is only applied against human monsters. And like, with Chaos, it's like the hardest fight you could think of is like Champion Drakith. And, its Enigma is still, RNG, as you can see randomly. So yeah, that's pretty much it for cons. Alright then. My final verdict about buffed Chaos Slayer is that Chaos Slayer, with the buffs, has become a better DPS soloer due to the fact that Chaos Blight stacks can now be achieved at a faster rate. And now it's like, the ultimate class to fight Chaos monsters with. I recommend getting this class because it is one of the better, reputation classes to get in this game. Alright then, that's pretty much been it for the buffed Chaos Slayer overview. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. And yeah, hi guys, out.